When my husband stopped reaching for my hand in church, I knew something had changed. It wasn't sudden, more like a slow fade, the kind you only notice once the silence feels heavier than the words. We used to be the couple everyone admired. You know, the made-for-each-other kind. Ethan would pick me up from work with coffee waiting in the cup holder, kiss me on the forehead before bed, and tell me every night, "You're my favorite part of the day." I believed him. I believed in us. Until his parents moved in. It started with a phone call from his mom, Linda. She sounded cheerful, too cheerful. "Sweetheart," she said, her southern drawl stretching the word, "your father and I have been thinking. This big old house feels so empty now that he's retired. Maybe we could come stay with you two for a while, help out around the place." I hesitated. I liked Linda and Tom and from a distance, but Ethan's eyes lit up. "That'd be nice," he said. "They'll love being closer to us. And you know Mom misses cooking for family, so they moved in. With 3 suitcases, a box of her special cookware, and opinions about everything. At first, I tried to make it work. I cooked big breakfasts, set up the guest room with new bedding, made polite conversation even when Linda corrected how I folded towels. She'd pat my arm and say, "You're trying so hard, honey," with that smile that never reached her eyes. Tom mostly stayed quiet, a man of few words, but his look said plenty. I always felt like he was taking mental notes. The first few weeks were tolerable. Then the questions started. "So," Linda said one evening while I was drying the dishes, "any good news yet?" I turned confused. "Good news?" "You know about a baby." I laughed awkwardly. "Not yet. We're not rushing it." Her smile tightened. Well, I just hope it's not one of those career first things. Time goes by quicker than you think. I brushed it off, but she didn't let it go. Every dinner, every Sunday drive, she found a way to circle back. "Have you two thought about seeing a doctor?" Sometimes women don't realize there's an issue until it's too late. Ethan would just chuckle, shake his head, and change the subject. But I could feel him shrinking away, one comment at a time. It's funny how the small things start to add up. He stopped sitting next to me on the couch. He worked late more often. His laughter, that easy, boyish laugh I loved, became rare. And whenever Linda said something cutting, he'd stay quiet. Then one morning, she knocked on our bedroom door holding a tray. "Made you some breakfast, honey," she said, pushing into the room before I could answer. "You'll need your strength for your appointment today." I frowned. "Appointment?" She smiled too sweetly. "Didn't Ethan tell you?" "I booked a doctor appointment for you. Just a checkup, nothing serious. I've got a friend who can fit you in." I turned to Ethan, who was buttoning his shirt. He didn't look up. "It's just a check," he said softly. "No big deal, no big deal." I didn't even know whether to be angry or embarrassed. At the clinic, the air smelled like sanitizer and fake lavender. I sat on the exam table, cold paper crinkling beneath me, while Linda answered half the nurse's questions for me. "No, she doesn't eat much red meat." "Yes. Her cycles are a little irregular." I wanted to scream that I was fine, healthy, normal. But the words felt stuck somewhere behind my ribs. When the results came in a week later, Linda said the envelope had been mailed to their address by mistake. She opened it before giving it to Ethan. That night, he didn't come home for dinner. He came in late, quiet and tired. "We'll talk in the morning," he said. I barely slept. When morning came, his tone was heavy. "Jess," he began, "the doctor said there might be complications. Maybe with your hormones. Mom just wanted to make sure everything's okay." My heart dropped. "Might be complications? What does that even mean? Can I see the results?" He hesitated. "Mom has them." She wanted her friend, another doctor, to look them over. Her friend. Right. I didn't argue. I just nodded, numb, trying to convince myself this was just a misunderstanding. But after that day, things changed. Ethan barely touched me. We stopped trying altogether. Every time Linda looked at me, her pitying expression made my stomach twist. She'd make comments like, "It's nobody's fault, honey. Some women just aren't meant to be mothers," and then pat my shoulder like she was comforting me. I'd smile and excuse myself, hiding in the laundry room to cry in silence. Still, I kept hoping. Hoping love would pull us back together. Hoping the man I married would see through whatever this was. Then one afternoon, while doing laundry, I found an envelope in Ethan's jacket pocket. A hospital logo printed across the top. I froze. The date matched the test day. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside, the results were clear. All values within normal range. No fertility issues detected. I stared at the page until the words blurred. My ears rang. Someone had lied. Not just whispered rumors. They'd forged proof. I sat on the floor, the envelope clutched in my hands, and realized something that shattered me. My husband didn't just believe them. He never even gave me a chance to prove them wrong. That was the day I stopped waiting to be loved back. For the next few days, I couldn't think straight. I went through my daily motions, making coffee, folding laundry, driving to work, but everything felt muted, like I was moving underwater. Ethan barely noticed. Or maybe he did and chose to ignore it. He'd been distant for months, but now it felt different. Colder. He'd check his phone constantly, whisper with his mother in the kitchen, stop talking when I entered the room. Sometimes I'd hear my name in hushed tones followed by silence. It was like living with strangers. One evening, I decided to bring up the report. I waited until after dinner, when Tom had gone to watch the news and Linda was in the garden pruning her roses. "Ethan," I said softly, sitting across from him at the table, "can we talk about the test results?" He looked up from his phone. "What about them?" "I found a copy. In your jacket pocket." I placed the paper on the table, my fingers shaking slightly. "It says I'm fine, Ethan. Everything's normal." His expression flickered, surprise, maybe guilt, before settling into defensiveness. "Jess, that can't be right. Mom said, your mom isn't a doctor." My voice cracked despite my best effort to stay calm. "Why would she even have access to my medical information?" He rubbed his forehead. "She was just trying to help. By lying to you?" I snapped. "By making you believe I'm broken?" His jaw clenched. "You don't know that's what happened." "Then what do you think happened?" I demanded, tears burning at the corners of my eyes. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like your parents forged medical records to make me look infertile." He stood up abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "You're overreacting, Jess. My mom wouldn't do something like that." I laughed bitterly. "Ethan, she already did." He left the kitchen without another word. That was our first real fight, the kind that leaves a crack in the air you can't patch up. After that, he stopped talking to me altogether. We lived in the same house but on different planets. I'd wake up, make breakfast for everyone, then leave for work without a goodbye. He'd be gone before I got home. And Linda? Well, Linda acted like she'd already won. She'd hum while cooking, move her things into the master bathroom to have more counter space, and treat me like some polite guest overstaying her welcome. Every time she called me sweetheart, it felt like a slap wrapped in sugar. But one night, I heard something that confirmed everything. It was almost midnight. I couldn't sleep, so I went downstairs for water. As I reached the kitchen, I heard voices, Linda's and Tom's, coming from the living room. I froze. Linda's tone was sharp. "He needed to know, Tom. If she couldn't give us grandchildren, better he find out now than waste another year." Tom sighed. "You went too far. Faking those results was risky." My stomach dropped. She scoffed. "Don't be dramatic. I used my cousin's clinic letterhead and he'll never question it. The girl's too soft to fight back. She'll just fade away." Tom didn't reply. Maybe he disagreed. Maybe he didn't care. But those words, faking those results, echoed in my head like a gunshot. I backed away quietly, heart pounding, afraid they'd hear me breathing. I sat on the stairs for a long time, trying to make sense of what I'd just heard. They hadn't just lied. They'd orchestrated everything. The test, the mistake, the report. And Ethan? He hadn't even questioned it. The next morning, I didn't mention what I'd overheard. Not yet. Instead, I called the clinic myself. I wanted to be absolutely sure. When I explained the situation to the receptionist, her tone shifted. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I can confirm that we never mailed any report to another address. Results are confidential and sent directly to the patient." I thanked her, hung up, and sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. That was the moment I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit. Ethan might never believe me, not because he didn't love me once, but because he loved them more. That night, I found him sitting on the porch, scrolling through his phone. The porch light cast half his face in shadow. "We need to talk," I said. He didn't look up. "About what?" "About your parents," I said steadily. "I know what they did, Ethan. I called the clinic. They confirmed everything. He sighed, exasperated. Jess, stop. No, I said firmly. You need to hear this. They faked that report. Your mother admitted it to your father last night. His head snapped up. What? I heard her. Every word. She said she used her cousin's clinic letterhead and that you'd never question it. He stood, shaking his head like he could shake away the truth. You're lying. That one word sliced through me like glass. Lying? I whispered. After everything? After you've watched her tear me down for months, you still think I'm the liar? He didn't answer. Just turned and walked inside, the door closing softly behind him. Final, cold. That night, I packed a small bag. Not because I was ready to leave, but because I finally understood I couldn't stay in a house where love required proof. As I zipped the bag shut, I looked around our room, the wedding photo on the dresser, the candle we never finished burning, the empty space where his hand used to find mine. Somewhere between all the lies and silences, the man I married had disappeared. And I was done searching for him in the wreckage. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. The house was quiet and too quiet. For a moment, I almost convinced myself I'd dreamed everything. That the lies, the betrayal, the forged report, all of it, were just bad thoughts I could brush away like cobwebs. But then I saw my half-packed duffel bag on the chair and the envelope on the nightstand. The truth was right there, waiting for me to face it. I decided I wasn't going to run. Not yet. If Ethan couldn't see through his parents' manipulation, then I'd show him. With evidence, undeniable, factual, in-his-face proof. Because after all this, I didn't just want to leave. I wanted clarity. So I drove back to the clinic. The same one where Linda had dragged me weeks ago. The same one whose name appeared on that fake letterhead. The receptionist recognized me. Oh, you're Jessica Miller, right? Yes, I said, forcing a polite smile. I had an appointment here last month, but there's been some confusion. I need to verify the details of my visit and the report that was issued. She frowned, typing on her computer. One moment, my heart pounded in my chest. I stared at the framed posters on the wall. Family is everything. Trust your body. The irony almost made me laugh. Finally, she looked up. Here it is. Your results were printed and given to your mother-in-law, Linda Miller. I froze. Wait, given to her? She's not authorized to access my records. The receptionist nodded apologetically. I'm really sorry. She said she was you. She had your driver's license photocopy and the appointment slip. The nurse didn't question it. My stomach twisted. She stole my ID? The woman hesitated. We can make a note in your file. Do you want us to email you the correct report? Yes, please. When the email came through a few minutes later, I scrolled down until I saw the results again. Clean, normal, perfect. I forwarded it to myself twice, then printed 2 copies at the front desk. It was strange, standing there holding proof of my own health. Proof of the lie that had destroyed my marriage. Driving home, my hands gripped the steering wheel tight. I rehearsed what I'd say to Ethan, how I'd hand him the paper and make him look at the truth. But as I turned onto our street, a strange calm settled over me. I wasn't scared anymore. Just done. When I walked in, Linda was in the kitchen arranging flowers. She looked up and smiled that same fake, saccharine smile. Well, good morning, sweetheart. You're up early. I set my purse down on the counter. Morning. Is Ethan home? He ran a few errands, she said casually. Want me to tell him you're looking for him? No need, I said, pulling the printed report from my bag. I'll wait. Actually, why don't you take a look at this first? Her smile faltered. What's that? The real test results. I laid them flat on the counter. From the clinic. The one you forged? Her expression didn't change right away. For a split second, she looked almost impressed, like she hadn't expected me to catch her. Then she gave a soft laugh. Oh, Jessica, you've misunderstood. I was just trying to help by stealing my ID? By lying to your son? By making me think something was wrong with me? Her face hardened. You wouldn't understand, dear. Ethan's our only child. He deserves a family. You've been married 2 years and nothing's happened. Because you made sure he wouldn't touch me, I snapped. You planted doubt, and he believed you. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Men believe what they see. Maybe if you'd been more— Don't, I said sharply. Don't finish that sentence. For the first time, I saw her drop the act. The warmth vanished from her face, replaced by something sharp and cold. She leaned in slightly. "You're not the first woman who's tried to stand between a son and his family, Jessica. But you won't win. You never do." I stared at her, this woman who had manipulated every corner of my life, and felt something inside me break free. "You're right," I said quietly. "I'm not trying to win. I'm just done playing." Before she could answer, the front door opened. Ethan stepped in, holding a bag of groceries. "Hey, what's going on?" I turned toward him, heart steady. "We need to talk." "Right now." He glanced at his mother. "Is everything okay?" "Perfect," I said, handing him the papers. "Read that." He frowned, unfolding the pages. His eyes scanned the text, his lips moving slightly as he read. When he got to the last line, "all values within normal range," he looked up, confused. "This says that I'm fine," I said. "That your mother lied. She stole my ID, faked another report, and gave it to you." Linda's voice rose. "That's a lie." I pulled out my phone and opened the email from the clinic. "It's not." I called them. They confirmed it. Ethan's eyes darted between us. His face had gone pale. "Mom, tell me she's lying." She didn't answer. "Mom," he repeated, louder this time. Still nothing. He dropped the papers onto the counter like they burned him. "You forged medical records?" His voice cracked with disbelief. "Why would you do that?" "I did it for you," she said, trembling slightly now. "You deserve a family, Ethan. You can't wait forever." "By destroying my marriage?" He shouted. "By making Jess feel worthless?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I just wanted what's best." "No," he said flatly. "You wanted control." He looked at me then, and in that moment I saw the man I married. Not the one who doubted, but the one who once promised me forever. "Jess," he whispered, but I stepped back. "Don't," I said softly. "You didn't even question it. You looked me in the eye and called me a liar." "I was wrong," he said quickly. "I'm sorry. I was stupid." I shook my head. "Sorry doesn't fix the months you let them break me." Linda stood there speechless, her world unraveling one truth at a time. Tom appeared in the doorway, his face drawn and silent. For once, he didn't defend her. I picked up my duffel bag from the hallway. "I'm leaving, Ethan, not out of anger, out of self-respect." He reached for me, but I stepped aside. "If you want to fix something, start with yourself." Then I walked out the front door, sunlight spilling across the porch like a goodbye I'd earned. When I left that morning, I thought it would be temporary. A week away, maybe 2. Just enough time to breathe, to think, to let the anger cool into something quieter. But by the time I reached my sister's house an hour away, I knew there was no going back. Sarah opened the door in her pajamas, holding a coffee mug. Her eyes widened. "Jess? Oh my God, what happened?" I didn't even answer. I just fell into her arms and sobbed. Deep, ugly sobs that came from months of pretending I was okay. When I finally managed to tell her everything, the fake reports, the manipulation, the lies, she stared at me in disbelief. "They did what?" she said, her voice rising. "That's criminal." I gave a broken laugh. "Yeah, but proving it won't change how little he trusted me." Sarah set her mug down hard. "You don't need to prove anything to anyone, Jess. You already know the truth. Let the rest of them choke on it." I stayed with her for the next few weeks. She made me pancakes every morning, made me laugh again, and didn't push me to make decisions before I was ready. For the first time in months, I could sleep without feeling like someone was watching me. But while I tried to move on quietly, word about what happened spread louder than I expected. It started small, a few mutual friends calling to check in, their voices tiptoeing around gossip. Then Ethan's cousin texted me, "I heard about what your mother-in-law did. Are you okay?" Apparently, Ethan had told his aunt everything. And she, bless her soul, had told everyone else. By the end of the week, half the family knew. Some were shocked. Others weren't. One of them even emailed me. "Linda's been controlling Ethan since he was a kid. You never stood a chance." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The truth had a way of burning through lies without me lifting a finger. A week later, Ethan called. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. "Jess," he said, voice low. I told them everything. I said nothing. My aunt, my cousins, even my boss. I couldn't keep living with it. "Everyone knows what Mom did now." I could hear the exhaustion in his voice, the kind that comes when a man finally sees the damage he helped cause. She's been calling me nonstop, he went on, crying, saying she didn't mean it to go that far. Didn't mean to destroy a marriage? I said quietly. Or didn't mean to get caught, he sighed. I deserve that. Yeah, I said. You do. There was a long silence. Then he said, she's moving out. Dad packed her things last night. That surprised me. Tom did? Yeah, he said he can't defend her anymore. It's messy. I let that sink in. For months, she'd been the queen of that house, manipulating everyone around her, twisting truths to suit her story. And now her empire was crumbling, but I didn't feel joy. Just a deep, aching sadness for what could have been. Jess, Ethan said after a pause, I know I can't fix what I did, but I'm seeing a therapist now. Trying to understand why I let her control me, I closed my eyes. For the first time, I heard real remorse in his voice. Not the panicked kind people use when they want forgiveness, but the quiet, broken kind that comes when they finally face themselves. I'm glad, I said softly. For your sake, he hesitated. Do you think we could ever— No, I said gently. We can't go back. Not after everything that's been said and done. I need to build something that isn't built on your mother's permission. There was another silence, longer this time. Then he whispered, I understand. When we hung up, I sat on Sarah's porch for a long time, watching the sky turn gold over the trees. I felt lighter, not because I'd won anything, but because I'd finally stopped carrying what wasn't mine to fix. In the months that followed, the fallout in their family only deepened. Linda became the subject of whispered pity at church. Her friends stopped inviting her to brunches. People looked away when she entered the grocery store. She'd built her whole identity around being the devoted mother, and now everyone knew how far she'd gone to protect that illusion. Tom filed for separation not long after. I can't live with someone who thinks lies are love, he reportedly told a neighbor. I didn't hear it from him directly, but I didn't need to. I knew the truth would eat her alive more effectively than any revenge ever could. Ethan kept trying to make amends, mostly through letters. He sent me one in early spring, handwritten, shaky. He wrote, You deserved a husband who stood beside you, not behind his parents. I see that now. I'll spend the rest of my life learning from that mistake. I never replied. Some apologies don't need answers. They just need acknowledgement. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding. I found a small apartment near my office, painted the walls a soft sage green, bought a secondhand dining table that I refinished myself, sanding it down until the wood felt like new. Every corner of that place was mine, my space, my peace, my beginning. And one day, as I watered the little fern on my windowsill, I realized something. The biggest lie Linda ever told wasn't about my fertility. It was about my worth. She made me believe I was broken, that I wasn't enough. But I had survived her lies, her manipulation, and the loss of a man who chose silence over truth. And I was still standing, still whole, still me. A few months later, Sarah convinced me to post my story on a private women's support forum. I didn't use names, just details. I thought maybe 5 or 6 people would read it. Within days, hundreds of women commented. Stories from all over the country, different names, different faces, same kind of betrayal. One woman wrote, Thank you for telling this. I thought I was the only one whose in-laws tried to ruin her marriage. Another said, You gave me courage to finally walk away. I cried reading their words. Not because I was sad, but because for the first time, my pain had turned into purpose. And just like that, the story that once broke me became something healing. Not just for me, but for others too. It's been almost 2 years since the day I walked out of that house. The day I left behind the woman who tried to ruin me and the man who let her. Sometimes it still feels like yesterday. Other days, it feels like another lifetime. I won't lie and say it was easy. Healing never is. At first, every small thing reminded me of what I'd lost. The smell of coffee in the morning, the sound of a lawnmower on a Sunday, even a passing song on the radio. Grief is sneaky that way. It hides in the ordinary, but the strange thing about pain is, it eventually becomes proof. Proof that you lived. Proof that you loved. Proof that even when someone tried to break you, you didn't shatter. I started therapy that summer. My therapist, a calm woman named Dr. Reyes, helped me unlearn the guilt that Linda had planted in me. She controlled you through shame, Dr. Reyes said during one session. But shame can't survive in truth. That line stuck with me, so I began to tell the truth, to myself, to others, to the quiet voice inside that still asked, what if it was my fault? It wasn't. And once I accepted that, I stopped replaying every conversation, every argument, every look from Ethan's mother. I stopped asking why me, and started asking what now? That what now turned into something beautiful. I enrolled in an evening writing class at a local community college, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the time or courage for. My instructor encouraged us to write from our scars, not our wounds. So I wrote about manipulation, betrayal, silence, and resilience. And before I knew it, those journal entries became short essays. Those essays became stories. And those stories started resonating with people. A few months later, one of my classmates suggested I post them online. You'd be amazed how many people need to read this, she said. So I did, under a pseudonym. I called it the Unbroken Heart Project. I wrote every week, stories about women finding their voices after betrayal, about breaking free from toxic families, about rediscovering themselves when the world told them they were lost. Slowly the page grew. Dozens of readers turned into hundreds, then thousands. People started writing to me. Women from all over the US, or from Texas to Ohio to California, saying things like, your story gave me the strength to finally move out. I thought I was crazy, but you made me realize I'm not alone. Each message felt like a stitch, sewing back together a heart that had once been torn apart. And then, one evening, as I was replying to comments, a familiar name popped up in my inbox. Ethan. I froze. His message was short, but every word hit hard. Jess, I came across your writing. I recognized your voice instantly. I've read every piece. You've turned your pain into something powerful. I hope you know how proud I am of you, and how sorry I still am. I've learned to set boundaries with Mom. She's in therapy, too. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted to thank you. Because of you, I finally understand what real accountability looks like. I sat there, reading it over and over. The old me might have cried. The newer me just smiled, softly, sadly, but peacefully. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need to. Some stories don't need sequels. Some people are meant to stay in your past, even if they once meant everything. Instead, I closed my laptop, made a cup of chamomile tea, and stepped out onto my balcony. The city lights glowed below like tiny stars. For the first time in years, I felt no bitterness, only gratitude. Because the truth was, I had found myself again. Last spring, the Unbroken Heart Project was featured in a local magazine. They called me a voice for women rediscovering their strength after family betrayal. Reading that headline felt surreal. A few years ago, I was crying in my car, wondering how I'd survive. Now, my pain had become a platform. I even gave a small talk at a women's shelter one night. When I told them about Linda, about how someone tried to rewrite my story, a woman in the back whispered, "That's my mother-in-law too." We laughed through tears. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about release. Afterward, one of the volunteers hugged me and said, "You remind me that healing isn't about forgetting. It's about reclaiming the narrative." And that's when it clicked for me. That's what Linda had taken from me all along, my narrative. She'd twisted it until I doubted my own memory, my own truth, my own worth. But now every time I wrote, every time I spoke, every time I helped another woman see through her own fog, I took it back. All of it. A few months ago, I visited my old neighborhood for the first time since leaving. The trees lining the street had grown taller, fuller. The guest house still stood behind Ethan's place, freshly painted but with new tenants, a young couple expecting their first child. I saw them laughing on the porch, and for the first time it didn't hurt. I realized then, healing doesn't mean erasing the past. It means being able to look at it without bleeding. Before driving away, I stopped by the lake nearby, the same spot where Ethan once promised we'd build a forever. The water shimmered under the late afternoon sun. I stood there quietly, letting the breeze carry away what little sadness remained. Then, I whispered, not to him, not to Linda, but to myself, "I made it, and I meant it." Epilogue. People sometimes ask me if I ever forgave her. And the truth is, I did in my own way. Not because she deserved it, but because I did. Forgiveness isn't about letting someone back in. It's about letting yourself out. out of the prison of anger, out of the weight of wishing things were different. Linda lost everything she tried to control. Her husband left. Her friends drifted away. Even her son, though still in touch, keeps his distance. She's living alone in that big house now, surrounded by the ghosts of her own choices. And me? I found freedom in the ruins she left behind. I built a life that's mine, wholly and unapologetically. Sometimes I still see her at the grocery store when I visit my sister. She looks smaller now, like someone who finally realized that manipulation can't buy love. We lock eyes and she always looks away first. That's enough for me. I don't need revenge. My peace is punishment enough. If you told me years ago that I'd come out of this stronger, I wouldn't have believed you. But I did, because the truth is, you can survive almost anything. Betrayal, humiliation, lies if you refuse to let them define you. I may have lost a marriage, but I gained something better, myself, and that, I've learned, is the only kind of victory that really lasts.